I feel weird saying hi. Don't know why. As soon as I could walk, I think, like that's when I started kicking a ball. My earliest memory playing is around about like 5 and 6 years of age, just starting off like playing grassroots and stuff, and then just going from there. But football, for me in my life, has been since I could walk, really, since I could start kicking a ball. And then obviously it's just got more and more important as like the years have gone by, and like it has actually been like my only real passion that I could do 24/7, every day, every week, every month, every year, without fail. I'd never ever get bored of it. As you well know, I love it a bit too much sometimes, but I wouldn't change it. To be honest, I've never really had to be like pushed into doing anything in terms of with football, because that's just something that since I was a kid, that's, like I say, that's something I've been passionate about so much that I think my mum and my dad and everyone just knew how much I loved it, so they just let me get on with it. But they'd do anything for me. In terms of football, I'd get driven anywhere around the country to go and play, and then, you know, get supported to go and move abroad, to go and do football abroad, anything. In terms of like, you know, growing up watching Liverpool, going to, you know, Champions League finals, going to all Champions League games, you know, them providing that for me was just like massive, because it was everything that I wanted, really, being able to go to watch football matches, go and play football, just be in and around football all the time. And, you know, even as a teenager, it was the same thing. I didn't want to go out and be like, you know, hanging around the streets or like doing other things. I just wanted to come home and just play football, which, you know, for some people it might be a little bit sad and whatever, but that's just what I wanted to do, because that's what I enjoy, and I'd probably still do the same now if I was able to. Well, I just started off playing for a grassroots team, and then I got picked up by Blackburn at the age of, I think it was 8. But obviously, like a lot of lads have, and girls, you get picked up quite an early age at an academy and you get let go. It's part and parcel of football, but I got picked up by Blackburn playing at a tournament at Liverpool's academy, and then I spent just over a year there, and then got referred to Preston, spent about 6 months there, and then after that I came out to the academy scene and was just playing grassroots for a number of years, before then going to college over here, before then moving over to America on a scholarship, which was meant to be for 4 years, but only ended up going for just over half a year due to a couple of things going on there. I was never good enough to make it as a professional footballer, because that's just, it is what it is, but I'd put everything into it to be that good. It's just, at the end of the day, I just wasn't good enough to be a professional footballer, which, you know, there's thousands and thousands of kids who are in the same boat, where they might love it or they do everything they can, and, you know, sometimes it's injuries, sometimes it's mentality, and sometimes it's just not good enough. And that was simple for me. I just wasn't good enough to be a professional footballer. I could try and play semi-pro for as long as I wanted to, but my passion turned to coaching when I turned 14, and I thought I can make more of a career out of coaching because of the knowledge that I've got and how much I love the game, than just trying to just play for as long as I can, which I still want to now, but I want to make as much as I can from football. So that's when I moved into coaching after playing. But in terms of playing, some academy experience, but mainly just grassroots really for me. In terms of like watching football, was probably Istanbul, going to there as like an 8-year-old kid and just witnessing, you know, the greatest Champions League final of all time, and just being such a surreal day. But in terms of playing, I'd just say like just enjoying it as a kid really, and just, you know, being on a journey which you don't really remember too much of, but you just remember it, just enjoying football week in, week out, which I think once players get to a certain age they stop doing it, which is what I find is with my players now, is I try and make every session and every game day as enjoyable as they can, because, you know, everyone plays football not just because they're good at it, or, you know, some people might not be great at it but they still want to play. They play it because they love it and they want to enjoy it, so you've still got to have that enjoyment side, because it is a hobby at the end of the day for most people who don't obviously get paid to do it. In terms of growing up, Steven Gerrard, obviously being from Liverpool, and how he dragged the team to cup finals and through games for over 10 years. It's just someone who you just look up to and you want it to be. That's my favourite ever player. But then in terms of like, there's so many that you look up to in different ways. In terms of, you know, Lionel Messi, for how good he is. Other players like Thierry Henry as well. I used to love watching them in the Premier League, but none of them compare to Gerrard, just because of the influence that he has been from the same city as yet, and how good he was, how much of a leader he was, a role model as well growing up, and just watching everything that he done. He was just, yeah, it was just class really. It was just something I've always, like, whenever I've watched football, like, some people can just get really emotionally involved, which obviously you do when you're watching your team, but I always, like, I watch it and I'm trying to study the game and see the tactics, what the teams are using, the formations or stuff like that, and it just got to a point where I was like, I really want to do this. So I started volunteering and stuff like that, which was a bit different to, obviously, you know, coaching with younger kids is a lot different to then obviously coaching with senior players now, because obviously when you're working with kids, it's all about developing them technically and tactically and things like, not so much tactically until you get a little bit older, but you know, you're kind of really teaching them the basics and the fundamentals of football. Whereas when you're working with the men now, it's all on like, how can you help them develop tactically, because you know, technically at the age of 20 plus, they're not really going to improve, maybe one or two little bits. So it's all about your knowledge improving them in terms of the tactical side of the game. And that's just something I've always wanted to get involved in terms of how can I help, you know, with my knowledge, not coming from a professional environment, but for all the experiences that I've had from other coaches, from just growing up playing, learning from like other people who I know have been professionals, and you know, listening to them and the experience that they've been through and how things go. I just wanted to think of like, I want to be a coach because I want to coach how I'd like to be coached, because I know that's how players would like to be treated and how they'd like things to get explained. So for me, it was just always something that I thought I think I'd be good at, and then it's proven so as well for how well I've done in the not short space of time, but for the age where I am, for where I'm at, is, you know, there's not many people that do it, especially not coming from a professional background as well. Champions League, that's the one thing I've always said, that's the one thing I'd want to work towards. And obviously people might be like, good luck, you know, there's very few people who win the Champions League, but that's something I'm aiming towards. As soon as I'd win that, I'd be happy to retire and just sit there and look at the medal every day. That's the trophy that growing up I've seen and been around, and it's the one day a year which is just like everything just stops and stands still in terms of the football world for me. The Champions League final, it's an amazing event. The competition, it's got the best teams in Europe. I know the World Cup is obviously, it's bigger worldwide, but I think every player in Europe and players that come into Europe, that's the one thing that they'd want to win, because of the teams that win it, the Real Madrids, the Barcelonas, the Bayern Munichs, the Liverpools, and the history it's got. That's the dream for me to win that. Obviously, I'd love to win anything in the professional game, but that's the end goal, and that's like, it might never happen, which obviously I hope it doesn't. It could take 10, 15, 20 years, but that's the goal, what I'm trying to work towards, and hopefully one day you get that medal around your neck, and that's it. Then that's just a sense of achievement, isn't it? Some people's goals might be to get a certain job or a certain role in the company, which, you know, might take them 10, 15 years, whereas mine's winning that, because that's like, in what I do, that's like, for me, that's the highest prize that I could get, and that's what I want to try and achieve. I've got to say Liverpool, because obviously that's where I've grown up, and it'd be, you know, to be in charge of the side that you've been and watched and had a season ticket of for years and years would just be a dream come true. I've said in the past I'd love to go to lots of different countries, more in terms of learning the language and studying football in different countries. So I'd say one of the Spanish giants, either Real Madrid or Barcelona, and then I'd say Ajax as well, just because of how they bring through the youth players. It's just, they're three different type of teams for me, so that's three different type of scenarios, managing, you know, the two of the biggest clubs in the world in terms of Real Madrid and Barcelona, in terms of, You know, everywhere you go, a kid's got a Barcelona and a Real Madrid top on. Liverpool again is in the top 5 biggest clubs in the world. I don't think many people could disagree with that. And then that's obviously got like an emotional side to it as well, being from the city and stuff. And then Ajax, with the history they've got, Champions League as well. But in terms of how they produce players and stuff and the football that they play, it's brilliant to watch as well. So it'd be great to be involved with a club like that. Don't look at the end goal too quickly. If you're wanting to go work with like senior players, with men and stuff like that, it takes time to get there. You need to practice your craft with the younger kids when you start off, because that's where you develop your communication skills. That's where you develop getting in the little finer details, you know, teaching 7-8-year-old children how to control a ball, how to turn, how to receive the ball, and those little details, you then just keep progressing them as you go up and work with older players. And just when you're watching football matches, study, don't just watch the game and just focus on the ball, try and focus on things off the ball, so people's positioning, what defensive line the teams are playing, how are they looking to press, the formation, what's the shape in possession, what's the shape outside. So just trying to build your knowledge as much as you can. Always take people's advice, but in terms of yourself, always coach how you feel comfortable. Don't try and change yourself because you might go on a course or someone might say, oh, I think you should do this. You coach how you feel comfortable, but you've just got to be a good communicator with people. That's both on and off the pitch, making sure that they know that, you know, you're in charge, you're making the decisions, but then off the pitch, being able to put your arm around someone's shoulder if they've had a bad game or they've made a mistake in a game. Just making sure that the players know that you care. And again, that could be someone who's 7-8 years of age, or it could be a 25-year-old fella who's been playing for 15 years. But, you know, everyone mentally, you know, after a bad game or a good game can go different ways. So just making sure that you're showing your players that you care about them. And I just make sure that, you know, you're driven and you're like, you know that it's a long, if you're trying to make it to the top, it's a long road, as anything is. You know, if you want to be a professional footballer and you start playing at the age of 4, you're not going to make it until you're at least 16. And if you're 16 and you make it, then you're one of the best footballers in the world at the time. It can be 20 years until you've got a professional contract. It could be the same with being a coach. So what I'd say is just don't think it's like a easy avenue to get down. You've got to take your time. Don't rush into things, and just, if you do get into it, try and coach as much as you can, 5-6 times a week. Just do as much as you can, just so that you're learning, you're developing, and you're just improving all your skills at the same time.